by 7.
So it's been madness. So they're filming in one of the barns just in front of the yard, and it's all been fine. It's been very good, apart from in the wind today. The horses very lit up. We had 5 horses about to go out to go and walk down the road, and 10 actors come up the hill.
What was he filming?
Some period drama, but 10 actors come up the hill in tinfoil blankets. And 5 event horses collectively lose their minds. And none of the actors stop or stop anything flapping. They just keep proceeding up the hill as all these horses are going ballistic. And they're up, they're spinning, they're galloping back up the yard. Anything that could go wrong went wrong. We were just there stop this madness, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. Oh, that's horrible. Okay, welcome everyone to a very rare occurrence in that we have had a dry run of today's episode, because this is the one that I deleted by accident when I was clearing out my phone.
Good practice.
It's been excellent practice.
And Kelly very kindly agreed to come back and be re-interviewed because...
forgave me for ruining it.
Let's turn that down.
Alex is being very popular.
So Kelly was in the area and decided to pop down to have another go.
If anyone else is in Gloucestershire, pop along. Interview you. Okay, have you got the question?
I do have the questions.
So today we are interviewing Kelly Jones of Kelly Jones Leather. Kelly, what do you do?
Hi, I'm a bespoke bridle maker and a qualified harness maker. I go out and do bespoke bridle work, go out and measure each individual horse to make sure it fits perfectly, go back to my workshop and make the bridle just as you want it.
That's perfect. And more importantly, because that seems like the sort of job that would take you ages and ages to get qualified on, how old are you?
I am 23.
Exactly, so it's a normal age and you can go and do it.
I just want to point out that one of the reasons we persuaded Kelly to come on this podcast with the interview is that I've known Kelly since we were in Pony Club. Not in the same Pony Club branch, we're at 16 Plus Camp together.
Yeah.
16 Plus Camp seems like the place to go, because I never went and I wish I did, because I got to AH training and everyone knew each other from 16 Plus Camp.
It was so nice because there were so many people, and I think it was only 3 of us who were jumping open show jumping night. So we had 3 of us in the, we had Elaine Wilson and
Sarah McDonald.
Was it Sarah McDonald? And
Sarah Mac.
And we just had we had 3 people in that giant indoor arena at Master Bridlemaker. We just had so much fun.
Yeah.
The dream.
Yeah. We slept in our lorries because we were so old and
yeah, I think I slept in a tent though.
You had your lorry, but you had your
little one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did have a little one, but I had a tent as well.
I slept in my big blue lorry that always used to break down and didn't have a radio unless you hit it with a boot. But anyway,
our
we got a
lorry
nice
doesn't
one
have
now.
a radio because the radio doesn't work. No one knows why it doesn't work, and we don't have any plans for the electrics. And we spoke to our mechanic about it, and he was like, "Look, I can fix the radio for you, but it means we're going to have to take the entire cab off as rewire the entire cab. So you can maybe get away with not having a radio."
So, as we just asked you, you're not an old saddler that's been around for many, many years, and you set up your own business in 2015. So, what made you just set up your business rather than going to be an apprentice or following someone around for a while?
So I did my GCSEs and I did my A-levels because my parents made me. And then I was meant to be going to become an apprentice with a very local saddle maker. 2 weeks before I was meant to be going, they couldn't take me on, and so I was sort of finished college and had no job, and so I still wanted to become a saddler. So,
something we can all relate to.
Yeah. So I still wanted to become a saddler. So luckily I went up to a training centre called the Cumbria Silver Saddlery. I did my basic training there. And that allowed me to be enrolled with the Saddlery Training Centre, and I could do my City and Guilds qualifications, which is part of the Society of Master Saddlers. It's very complicated how it all goes through, but it means that you don't have to have an apprentice to train as a saddler, which is really useful because there's so little apprentices out there. You can just do it all on your own thing, but you have to fund it yourself. There's no government funding as such.
No student loan.
No, thankfully parents' loan. Has been very poor, and yeah.
Eating a lot of pasta with ketchup. I remember those days.
Yeah, no, well, I still do that, to be honest. So yeah, that's how I gained my to become a qualified harness maker. I decided to go down the harness making route because I didn't want to go down the saddle fitting route because it's just a bit too political, and not too fan of driving a lot, and you have to drive a lot for saddle fitting. So, and then I discovered my love for bridles, and that sort of took off.
But what was it that made you think you wanted to be a saddler?
I wasn't very good at school, particularly I'm extremely dyslexic. And I suffer extremely for the cold. So I knew I wanted to do something with horses, but I knew I couldn't really work outside. And I did think of becoming a farrier. Yeah. And then I did a little bit of work experience for my farrier and decided that I actually quite valued my back, and also didn't want to become. And lady farriers are just, I don't think it's.
Every time I'm doing studs, I'm like, how do farriers do this on a daily basis? So,
and it was just my saddle fitter who used to come out to me. Originally said there was a big market for there's no harness makers in this area because she drives, and she was struggling to find it. So I decided to go, I'm going to make harness and make lots of money and this and that. And then I discovered harness, and it's like, I don't like harness. It's so thick to stitch because most of it's hand stitched or machine stitched, and I just discovered that it wasn't where I wanted to go.
No. What's your favourite thing to make?
Bridles, hands down. I do like hand stitching bridle. I hand stitch all my bridles, but I do like when it's a comfort bridle and there's lots of hand stitching to do. That's what I really enjoy to do. But it's not just the making of the bridle, it's going to the horse and working out what noseband it needs and trying to
problem solve.
Problem solve and work out, and then seeing the difference. And recently, especially with the eventing season started up, I've already seen my bridles helping people get better at events, and it's so good because my horse, I'm never going to do well at events. So it's quite nice. I can bask in other people's
Have you noticed that like lots more people want comfort bridles and stuff like that with all the research that's come out about them?
I've noticed that it's not so much the comfort bridles have been around for an awful long time, but it's people are now discovering it's the bridle fit aspect of it, of having someone to actually come out and fit the bridle to the horse, because so many bridles that you buy off the peg, although they're comfort, most of the time they don't fit the horses over the ear, particularly behind the ears. So having the aspect of actually having someone to come out and bridle fit, just like how you have someone to come out to your yard to saddle fit, it's a new way of thinking, but more and more people are coming round to that idea. It's just taking a bit of time because how the market is, people haven't quite learned that they need it. The bespoke bridles are more expensive. People just have to work out how it will work.
So if anyone's listening to this and they've suddenly panicked because they have a bridle that they've bought from a tack shop and they're worried it might not fit,
found in the garage like we used to do,
what would be your advice that they can anything they could do with that bridle to make sure that it fits their horse the best it can?
So particularly simple things of looking at the headpiece. If it's a cutback headpiece, my biggest bugbear is where the cutback ends too short in the horse. So if you look at your horse on the side, where the ear is, where the cutback is, it needs to sit below the ear. And if you look at it, you'll see it straight away, but you have to look at it first, and so many people just run over the fact. So if that fits the horse, and that's good, but sometimes you need to go up a bigger headpiece to fit the side of the horse. And then the simple thing of cheek pieces. You can get a saddler to shorten the cheek pieces so it's not buckled right up on the pressure points just above the eye. And it's a really small job that most saddlers can do with their eyes closed. So if you just do, and as well as the noseband, if you can get it so the buckles are all lying in front of the eye, you can actually fit a bridle so much better, rather than, you don't have to always go new, but sometimes the the leather's
There's
so
only
soft.
so much you can do, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, you would never be able to fit a pony bridle on a warm blood, and vice versa. So it's sort of it's a balancing point. But I do sometimes I do a lot of alterations to people's bridles, especially when I go to pony. I do pony club talks, and so many people say, "Oh, what do you think of this bridle?" And I just say, "Oh, it just needs a small adjustment." And sometimes it is a small adjustment, and sometimes they just need to stop.
Have you ever had someone be like, "What do you think of my bridle?" And you've just sat there like, "Oh my god, everything's wrong."
Yeah, well, it wasn't the fact that I don't know how it was the first day of camp or the second day of camp, and she was like, "What do you think of my bridle?" And I said, "It's a bit small, is it?" And she goes, "Yeah, I was wondering that because it doesn't really fit my pony very well, and I had a different brow band on it, and it doesn't match my saddle anymore." And I was like, "I think you've got someone else's bridle."
You perhaps got the wrong bridle.
Yeah, it turned out they had their sister's bridle.
That's such a camp thing.
Yeah, I think they were only at a pony club camp. I think they were about 14 years old, so they should have known better. But it was quite funny.
It doesn't fit my saddle anymore.
It doesn't match my saddle.
It's changed overnight.
So you make, obviously, so you make bridles and stuff, but you also do lots of other leather work. What's the strangest thing someone's asked you to make for them?
So they've got two of those. One of them is I made 60 Santa belts
for Christmas.
Yeah, a company called Hire Santa wanted English leather 4-inch wide Santa belts for their Santas, all varying different sizes, because obviously Santa's slightly different.
I can't believe they paid out for like actual handmade. I can't believe they didn't just buy like your bog standard.
Well, they couldn't get them, and the belts they got me to make that was redone were just fake leather, and they were just awful. And it sounds so stupid, but when the kids sit on the lap and they're a bit nervous, they grab the belt just so this is something to play with, and having an awful belt is not very nice. So they put, and God, it's going to outlive about 100 Santas. So. And then the other weird one was I did for a neighbour is a sheep chair, so you can trim sheep's feet easily. So it's like a hammock, and I put it on my Facebook page trying to get people to see if they could guess what it is, and no one guessed it at all. It took a long time for people to get anywhere. I did have like a dog deck chair, so it was almost there, but no, it was just a very strange thing, but it sort of...
Love that. That's something you get on greetings cards, isn't it? Like a sheep and a hammock. Oh, I just love it.
Yeah.
Greetings from the beach.
Yeah.
Hope you're having a bar really in time.
Okay, enough. Let's stop that there, shall we?
So as part of your training and development with your career, you've recently become a Quest Scholar, which is the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust.
Yeah.
Is that it right?
Well done. Excellent. Well
had
done.
to ask in the last interview what it was, so I was hoping I'd remembered. How did you get involved in that? How is that going to benefit your training?
So I found out about it by sort of other scholars that have done it in saddlery training, and I applied in July, but particularly I waited until I finished my harness training, so I knew exactly what I wanted to specialise in. So I asked them if I could have some extra training with a Master Bridlemaker to expand my sort of horizons in the bespoke bridal work side of things. And once I got it, I contacted Izzy Russell, who has IR Bridals, who makes bridles for sort of lots of big people, including Valagro.
You can name drop.
Name drop. But also all of Charlotte's other bridals. So that's that's quite exciting. And funnily enough, that's where I am this week. I'm doing my first week with Izzy, and it's amazing. So I'm there for 9 weeks over a few years. So it's just spaced them out, and I'm just making bridles of what I want to do. Sort of I go there and say, I want to make this bridle this week. How can you help me with it? And it's
That's so cool.
It's just amazing, and it's a really good opportunity, and I would never have been able to afford it without the Quest scholarship. So I'm very thankful for them, and yeah, it's going to open a lot of doors for me.
What was the process for getting selected for it?
It was a quite long, scary process. Scary as in there's lots of writing, and being very dyslexic, I don't do very well at writing, so I had to just fill in an online form of where I wanted to be in 10 years, which was also very scary to actually think about that, and what I really wanted to specialise in, and also what the market's out there, and because it's a traditional craft, they want it so it is slightly connected to benefit the UK. And I wanted to really specialise in the inventing bridal work side of things, so that was what I really enjoyed doing. So I filled that out form, then I went into stage 2, which was they took it to the member of the boards, and that was another few weeks of waiting for an email. And then stage 3 actually had to go to and have an interview at the Royal Warrant Holders Association offices, which share the offices for Quest, and that is very smart. And my best little story was I got the email that I went to go there, and I as my dyslexic brain works, I sort of skipped letters and numbers, and it said I thought it said 1 Buckingham Palace, and I got, oh my god, I'm going to Buckingham Palace, that's so exciting. And then and then I reread it, and it was 1 Buckingham Place, which is like half a mile away, so it was not that far away from Buckingham Palace. But
close enough, you know. It
was still a pretty impressive, and I had to have an interview in this giant boardroom, and it was quite amazing. And I sort of came out going, had that happened? Did I really talk to those people for? I think I talked to them for about half an hour at bridals, and they had to make me stop. They were like, because they didn't really know about, and I wanted to talk about nosebands and this and eventing and wanting to get my bridals going around the Olympics and badminton. They didn't know what I was talking about, but they could tell that I was completely crazy.
I feel like in that sort of situation that you want them to have to make you stop, because if you can just keep talking and talking, it shows that you're really passionate about it, and it shows that you really care about what you're doing. You're not just there like, I didn't want to go to university, so this is what I'm doing. Like, it's just that you actually want to be where you are.
Well, I think they realised that it's not just a job for me, it's completely my life. It's like my passion. I go around badminton trials, I don't look at the shops, I look at the bridals in the shop and go, how that's made and all of that, and then going to Olympia, oh, that horse is wearing a noseband, like, and it's and Horse and Hound, don't read any articles anymore on Horse and Hound, look at the pictures and go, well, that bridle's not fitting properly, or oh, I like the look of that brow band, and it's just taken over my whole life, and I can't really stop it now, which is quite bad. But
you're so lucky to be doing something that you are that passionate about, though, to like truly be doing something that you love.
It's not easy because I have to be self-employed, which means that when I'm ill, I don't get paid. If I don't do something correctly, I don't get paid, and things like that. And it's not a hugely well-earning job, but it's the horse industry. Is there any well-earning paid jobs out there except maybe like insurance people?
Maybe we should interview an insurer. That's a good point.
Find someone add them to our list.
What is one thing you wish you'd learned sooner?
I think to learn to ask others. So I learned that I don't know everything. And
something for everyone, I think.
I thought when I did my basic training, and I thought, well, I can make a roll bridle exactly like Vinagro's, and I screenshotted it, and I went, well, I'm going to make that next week, that's fine. And then I started making one, and I was like, no. No. So it's just sort of to accept criticism and learn from my mistakes, and know that no one's perfect, but I want to strive for the perfection. So it's sort of I think that's the most important thing I've learned.
So since our first interview that we did with you, you've become a qualified harness maker.
Yes.
How was the training for that different to what you've done so far for the saddle, for the bridles, and what was the process?
So it was all done at the same place in the Saddlery Training Centre in Salisbury, run by Mark Romain. You can either go down the saddlery route and to become a qualified saddler where you make a saddle, or you can go down a harness route and become qualified harness maker where you make a harness. So it's very similar to all the bridle work qualifications I've done, except you have to make a whole harness. Which, you look at a harness, there's quite a lot of leather on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I used to
involved.
work, we had some harness. She had like 2 harnesses because she used to drive, and like her parents lived there before, so they used to drive their horses to the shops and stuff. And we had a horse that had pulled a cart, and she wanted to sell the cart, so we had to tack this horse up to put on the cart.
Madness.
And I was looking at this leather like, where does this go? Like, you'd think it'd be obvious, but it's
No.
really not.
No. I didn't actually know a lot about harness before I started making my harness. Now I know where everything goes and every thickness and yeah, it's a completely different way of saddlery. It's so broad, but no, it's a very complicated. How in the long run I will hopefully become a master bridle maker, but you can't become qualified bridle maker because I can't just become a qualified bridle maker and then in 7 years' time become a qualified master bridle maker. You have to become a qualified harness maker or a qualified saddler. It's a very complicated process. Not too sure. It's part of the Society of Master Saddlers. I don't really know why it's there because it's just how it's always been done, and because the master bridle makers are very new mastership, because it used to be harness maker and master saddler. It's quite complicated, but hopefully in 7 years' time I will become a master bridle maker.
Which is there more money in, harnesses or bridles? Like for anyone who's trying to make the decision.
I don't really know the harness market that well. I think probably the harness, because there's so little on the market, it's very difficult to go and buy a harness from off the peg. So I guess the harness. But very soon after, when I started making my harness, I decided I didn't enjoy it, and also I had problems with my wrists when I was stitching, because the harness leather is so much thicker and tougher. I was getting really bad pains in my wrists. That is it is carpal tunnel. I went to the doctors about it, and I said, I'm getting pains from my wrist, and they're like, oh, it's carpal tunnel. Yeah, you can have an operation, and it's a really quick operation, but you're not going to be able to stitch for 6 months. And I was like,
okay, so no.
Yeah, I was like, what else can I do? And they're like, maybe stop doing it was making you hurt. And as soon as I stopped harness, I put it down the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't have any pain until I picked it up again, and it's painful again. So yeah.
Okay.
But I was already not enjoying it. So bridles I can sort of get done in a week, and they're done and they're finished. But harness takes a month, and it's you're looking at it for a month, and you just learn not to like it.
Yeah. Just too much.
So what advice would you give to anyone who might be thinking about becoming a saddler, or just sort of dipping their toe in the water a bit? Where would you advise they go to look or start?
Well, ideally they would get an apprenticeship, because it's government funded. But there's not a lot of them out there at the moment. So where I would try and start just doing some basic courses to learning about stitching and sort of playing around with things and making the odd belt, and you can really learn a lot from very simple dog collars, dog leads, belts, bags. You can learn a lot from that. And then if you are really interested, then you can enrol with the Society of Master Saddlers Saddlery Training Centre courses, what I did, but you have to be at a certain standard. But the best thing is just to any bench saddler, just send them an email. Quite a few of them will try and get back to you and let you know. There is also a 2-year course at the Capel Manor College, which is the only place in the UK that actually runs a proper course on it. It is good. but you are in college for 2 more years in Capel, which I couldn't do. I'm not a very good person to be in a classroom with. I sort of bounce off the walls and talk to myself, and I work best when I'm on my own. So doing it all my own way. But there's so many different ways of doing it. If you can't get an apprenticeship, don't give up. Just carry on looking, carry on researching, and just try and talk to saddlers, and they're all very helpful. Well, most of them.
Have you worked with leather substitutes, or is leather like the best thing for saddle making?
I have tried working with biothane, which is very similar to what the Zilco harnesses are made for. I think it's very similar to what I can't remember what the company is called. They make synthetic bridles, but they're not. They don't. The biggest thing is leather is designed to snap. Yeah. And people forget that. They go, oh, my reins snapped because my horse stood on them. I was like, well, your reins snapped, your horse stood on them, but you've not got a dead horse that's broken its neck.
Yeah.
Whereas
or
if you
snapped a cannonbone or something.
Yeah. So there's not the perfect thing out there. Saying that, there is someone out in America who said that we're releasing something in March that we're all very excited about, but we don't know what it is. And a big Grand Prix dressage rider has been riding in their bridles. So there may be something out there, but at the moment, good old English leather is just the best because it just wears nicely. But the most important thing is leather is designed to snap when it needs to.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for talking to us again.
No worries.
If anyone wants to find out more about you, where are you on? Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram as Kelly J Leather. Just a warning, it's slightly about my business and quite a lot about my dog because everyone loves my little dog Spaniel.
My God, your dog is so cute.
Yeah. Last time we interviewed Kelly, we got to meet all
of the dogs.
Yeah, we have quite a few at home. But I've just got little Oka who comes to my workshop, and she appears quite a lot on my Instagram, and also my naughty horse Flame appears there as well. And I'm also on Facebook as Kelly J Leather. Got my website as well, just look me up, and if you have any questions, I'm always near my phone, call or send me a message. I do apologise for the bad grammar, but you just have to work that out. that's just my dyslexic, but I sort of give up half the time, so I'm just like, they can sort of make
I mean, I've got a lot of friends who do that and they're not dyslexic, so they have no excuse.
Perfect.
All right, well everyone, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. You obviously know where to find us. Please leave us a review because we're needing reviews on iTunes/Spotify, so that would be amazing. And I hope you listen and enjoy next time. All right, bye.
Bye.